Have you ever felt frozen by fear just when you were about to take an important step? That tightness in your chest, the endless what-ifs circling in your mind? You're not alone. Fear is part of the human experience, but it doesn't have to define us. What if we could transform fear into a source of power and growth? Welcome back to our channel, where we explore timeless wisdom to help us thrive today. Whether you're a longtime follower or new to our community, I'm excited you're here. Today, we're diving into 5 Stoic techniques that can help you conquer fear and reclaim your courage. A few years ago, I was afraid to move to a new city where I didn't know anyone. The thought of leaving my comfort zone terrified me. What if I felt isolated? What if I failed to build a new life? But remembering the Stoic idea that fear often exaggerates reality, I took the leap. It wasn't easy, but it became one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. Now I want to share with you how Stoicism helped me overcome that fear, and how it can help you too. Let's jump in. Number 1, embrace the worst-case scenario. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the rocky ground far below. At first, fear grips you. Your mind floods with visions of falling. But as you take a deep breath and truly face the fear, you realize you're not falling. You're still standing, strong, steady. The danger existed mostly in your mind. This powerful technique comes from the teachings of Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers. Seneca advised us to confront our fears by imagining the worst thing that could happen. This might sound counterintuitive at first, but there's profound wisdom in this approach. By facing the worst-case scenario in our minds, we strip it of its power over us. Often, our fear of the unknown is far worse than the reality itself. Let me share a different story to illustrate this. A close friend of mine once dreamed of starting his own business. For years, he hesitated, paralyzed by the fear of leaving the stability of his corporate job. When he finally applied Seneca's method, he sat down and mapped out the absolute worst-case scenario. His business might fail, he could lose his initial investment, and he might need to take a lower-paying job temporarily to recover. As he envisioned this in vivid detail, he realized something important. Even if everything went wrong, he would still have his skills, his health, and the ability to rebuild. This realization gave him the courage to take the leap, and today his business thrives. This exercise doesn't magically erase fear, but it dismantles the illusion that fear holds power over us. Once you accept that you can survive even the worst outcome, you move from a place of paralysis to a place of action. Another key benefit of this technique is that it often exposes how unlikely our worst fears actually are. When you think logically through the scenarios, you realize that the extreme outcomes we dread are rarely realistic. Most failures aren't permanent setbacks. They're opportunities to adapt, learn, and grow stronger. So take a moment to confront your own worst-case scenario. Close your eyes and imagine it in detail. What would happen if your biggest fear came true? How would you cope? What resources would you draw upon? You might be surprised to find that even the worst-case scenario is manageable. By accepting it, you free yourself to take bold steps forward, unshackled by the paralyzing grip of fear. Remember, the goal is not to dwell on negative outcomes, but to recognize that even the worst possibilities are often less daunting than they seem. Embracing the worst-case scenario gives us the strength to face our fears with resilience and determination. Now let's move on to the next technique. Number 2, focus on what you can control. Have you ever felt overwhelmed because everything around you seemed out of control? Maybe unexpected problems piled up, and no matter how hard you tried, the outcome still felt uncertain. It's a frustrating feeling. But that's exactly when Stoicism reminds us to focus only on what we can control. Just like a sailor can't control the wind or the waves, but can adjust the sails, you have power over your actions, your attitude, and your choices. When you shift your focus inward, you reclaim your peace and move forward, no matter how rough the sea gets. One of the fundamental lessons in Stoic philosophy, emphasized by the great thinker Epictetus, is the importance of focusing only on what lies within our control. Epictetus wisely taught that while many things in life are outside our influence, our actions, thoughts, and responses always remain within our power. Mastering this distinction can completely change the way we deal with fear. Fear often stems from feeling helpless, worrying about outcomes we can't predict, other people's reactions, or random events we have no say over. This sense of uncertainty can be overwhelming, but when we shift our attention to what we can control, we take back our strength and our sense of stability. Let me share a personal example. A few years ago, I decided to organize my first large public workshop. As the date approached, I found myself stressed about so many unknowns. Would people even show up? Would the venue have technical issues? Would attendees be critical? I spent sleepless nights worrying about factors I couldn't influence. Then I remembered Epictetus's principle. I sat down with a notebook and made 2 columns. On one side, I listed everything beyond my control: the weather, people's opinions, technical glitches. On the other side, I wrote down what I could control: preparing my content thoroughly, rehearsing my presentation, arriving early to troubleshoot issues, and bringing a calm, positive attitude. Once I focused on my efforts rather than the uncontrollable outcomes, my anxiety began to fade. I realized that even if unexpected problems occurred, I would be ready to handle them with grace. The event turned out to be a success, but more importantly, I learned how empowering it feels to focus solely on my part and let go of the rest. A simple way to practice this mindset is to create your own control versus can't control list whenever fear or stress begins to rise. Writing it out helps bring clarity. You immediately see where your energy is best spent and where you simply need to let go. For instance, if you're preparing for an important interview, you can't control the interviewer's mood or the other candidate's performance. But you can control how well you prepare, how confidently you present yourself, and how you respond to questions. By concentrating your effort where it matters, you replace fear with calm determination. By living this way, we move from helplessness to empowerment. We stop wasting precious energy on what we cannot change and instead invest it in taking positive, deliberate action. Life becomes less about anxiety and more about mastery. And here's something even more powerful to remember. Every small moment where you focus on your own effort, instead of the external noise, builds resilience. Over time, you will notice that setbacks, criticisms, and unexpected challenges no longer shake you as easily. You develop an inner fortress that fear cannot easily penetrate. So the next time fear threatens to take over, pause. Ask yourself, what can I control right now? Focus fiercely on that and let everything else drift away. That's where your true strength lies. Now let's move on to the next powerful technique. Number 3, practice voluntary discomfort. Imagine a blacksmith forging a sword. Each strike of the hammer, each moment of intense heat and pressure strengthens the metal, making it unbreakable. In the same way, every small discomfort we face willingly toughens our spirit, preparing us to meet life's greatest challenges without fear. One of the most empowering techniques embraced by the Stoics is the practice of voluntary discomfort. This principle teaches us to intentionally engage in small challenges and hardships, preparing our minds and bodies to better handle the uncertainties of life. The idea is simple yet profound. By facing controlled discomfort, we strengthen our resilience and reduce our fear of adversity. The Stoics understood that comfort can make us fragile, while purposeful discomfort fortifies us. Voluntary discomfort involves exposing ourselves to manageable hardships in a safe and intentional way, helping us face unexpected difficulties with greater ease and calm. Let me share a personal example. A few years ago, I decided to take on the practice of minimalist living for a month. I limited my possessions to the bare essentials. No unnecessary gadgets, luxuries, or conveniences. At first, the experience was jarring. I missed the comforts I had taken for granted, like constant entertainment or easily accessible food options. However, as the days went by, I discovered a deep sense of freedom. I realized how little I truly needed to feel content and capable. This experiment not only made me more grateful for the simple things, but also strengthened my ability to adapt to changes and challenges. Later on, I decided to add another layer to my voluntary discomfort practice: digital detox weekends. For 2 days each week, I would disconnect completely from social media, emails, and even my phone. Initially, I felt restless and disconnected, But over time, I noticed a profound shift. My mind became clearer, I was more present with my family, and I felt less anxious overall. Facing the discomfort of missing out helped me regain control over my attention and emotional state. Voluntary discomfort doesn't need to be extreme or painful. It could be as simple as walking instead of driving, choosing cold showers, or challenging yourself to carry out a task without relying on shortcuts. The key is to choose actions that push you just beyond your comfort zone in a safe and intentional way. The beauty of this practice is how it transforms your relationship with fear and uncertainty. When you willingly expose yourself to small hardships, you prove to yourself that you are capable of enduring much more than you think. This inner confidence becomes an invaluable asset when life inevitably throws bigger challenges your way. If you're starting out, pick one small form of discomfort to introduce into your daily routine. Stick with it for a week and notice how it affects your mindset. Over time, you'll find yourself greeting challenges with calm, courage, and even gratitude, knowing that you've trained yourself to be ready. By embracing voluntary discomfort, we prepare ourselves for life's storms. We build an inner strength that allows us to remain steady, resilient, and fearless, even when the world around us feels uncertain. Now let's dive into the next transformative technique. Number 4, reflect on past fears. Picture yourself about to walk onto a brightly lit stage, the crowd beyond the curtain waiting in silence. Fear grips you, and every instinct tells you to run. But then, you recall a moment years ago when you faced a different fear. Maybe it was speaking up in a small meeting or taking a big step in your personal life, and you succeeded. That memory reminds you that fear is just a passing wave, and you have already proven that you can ride it with courage. One of the most powerful tools we have to overcome fear is reflection. Looking back on the fears we have already faced and conquered, this practice gives us valuable perspective, reminding us that fear is not new, and that we have a proven track record of resilience. Fear often tricks us into thinking that the current challenge is insurmountable. When we're caught up in it, we tend to forget our previous successes. However, the truth is that throughout our lives, we've continually faced fears, some large, some small, and emerged stronger each time. Let me share a different personal story. A few years ago, I was terrified of relocating to a new city where I knew no one. The idea of leaving behind my familiar environment, support system, and comfort zone filled me with dread. I spent countless nights worrying, what if I hated it? What if I couldn't make new friends? What if I failed to build a new life? Despite the fear, I took the leap. The first few months were challenging, but over time, I adjusted. I made meaningful connections, found new opportunities, and grew in ways I never could have imagined if I had stayed where I was comfortable. Now, whenever I face new fears, whether it's starting a new project or stepping into unknown territory, I reflect on that experience. I remind myself, I survived, adapted, and thrived before. I can do it again. That simple reflection provides an incredible boost of courage. I encourage you to take some time to think back on your own victories over fear. Perhaps it was speaking up for yourself, making a tough decision, or navigating a personal setback. Write about these moments in a journal. Focus on what you feared, how you felt, what actions you took, and what the real outcome was. You'll likely notice that your worst fears rarely came true. And even if things didn't go perfectly, you found ways to cope and grow. Another practical idea is to create a fear reflection journal. Devote a few pages to each fear you have faced and conquered. Document the emotions you experience, the strategies you use to manage the fear, and the lessons you learned. Over time, this journal will become a powerful tool, reminding you of your capacity for courage and adaptability. By revisiting these moments, you build a strong foundation of confidence. You start to recognize patterns, how fears tend to exaggerate possible outcomes, and how your inner strength has always helped you find a way forward. In addition to journaling, consider having regular conversations with trusted friends or mentors about the fears you faced. Sometimes hearing an outside perspective on your own resilience can amplify your sense of strength and provide encouragement for the future. Talking about our past triumphs brings them to life again and helps solidify the belief that we are capable of facing whatever lies ahead. Finally, make it a habit to celebrate even small victories over fear. Whether it's making a difficult phone call, trying something new, or speaking up in a meeting, acknowledging these moments trains your mind to associate courage with success rather than anxiety. Over time, your confidence will grow and fear will lose much of its grip on you. Reflecting on past fears not only helps us shrink the power of present worries, but also nurtures a deep appreciation for the personal growth we've achieved. It transforms fear from a paralyzing force into a source of wisdom and strength. The next time you find yourself overwhelmed by a looming fear, pause and ask yourself, when have I faced something like this before? What did that experience teach me? These reflections will remind you, you are far more resilient than you realize. Now let's move on to the final technique. Number 5, live with purpose. This method is rooted in the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, who stressed the vital importance of living according to one's values and higher calling. When we are anchored to a clear sense of purpose, fear loses much of its power. We become focused on what truly matters rather than distracted by every obstacle that appears. Living with purpose means knowing what principles you hold most dear and making choices that reflect those principles. It's about recognizing your core motivations, the impact you want to have, and the legacy you wish to leave behind. With this clarity, fear shifts into the background, overshadowed by conviction and passion. Let me share a different experience from my life. A few years ago, I was working a secure job that paid well, but left me feeling unfulfilled. I constantly battled fear of failure if I left, fear of regret if I stayed. After a lot of soul searching, I realized my true purpose was to help people through coaching and personal development. Quitting that stable job was terrifying, but once I committed to my purpose, the fear became manageable. Every step forward, even the uncertain ones, felt meaningful because it aligned with what I truly valued. Another powerful moment came when I volunteered to organize community events, despite having no prior experience. The fear of messing up and public criticism was intense, but my deeper goal, fostering connection and support within my community, kept me moving. In the end, the events were not only successful, but also deeply rewarding, teaching me that purpose is stronger than fear when we let it lead. Living with purpose requires consistent reflection. Ask yourself, what values define me? How do I want to contribute to the world? What do I want to be remembered for? Write your answers down and use them as a compass during times of fear and doubt. One effective exercise is crafting a personal mission statement, a short, powerful summary of your core values and goals. Keep this statement somewhere you'll see it often, your desk, your phone background, or in your journal. Let it remind you daily of what really matters. Another practical habit is to set monthly purpose checks. Take time each month to review your actions and see if they align with your larger goals. These reflections keep you grounded and ensure you're not drifting away from your values in moments of fear or stress. For instance, your mission statement could be, I strive to uplift and empower others by living authentically, seeking wisdom, and creating positive change wherever I can. When fear shows up, return to your mission statement. It serves as a grounding force that reminds you why you started and encourages you to press forward. Living purposefully aligns your daily actions with your deepest convictions, creating a profound sense of fulfillment and inner courage. Challenges will still come, but they lose their ability to paralyze you because you are driven by something larger than fear. Consider figures like Nelson Mandela, Malala Yousafzai, or Leonardo da Vinci. Their paths were full of uncertainty and danger, but their unshakable sense of purpose carried them through and left a lasting mark on the world. Your purpose doesn't have to be revolutionary. It simply needs to be authentic and meaningful to you. Discover it, define it, and let it light your path, even when fear threatens to slow you down. When your purpose is clear, the noise of fear grows quiet and your focus sharpens. Fear will still be present, but it will no longer be your master. Instead, it becomes a companion on your journey, one that reminds you you're stepping into a life of courage and authenticity. Thank you for being here. If you found this message helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more insights inspired by the Stoics. Until next time, stay grounded, stay courageous, and stay true to your purpose.